In this video, we'll review how to find the volume and surface area of a prism. To begin, let's start by defining what a prism is. A prism is a type of polyhedron. That is, it is made of polygons and is three-dimensional. Polygons are straight line segments connected end to end to form a two-dimensional shape. Connect those two-dimensional shapes together and you get a 3D figure, in this case a prism. Now, to be a prism, it has to have two congruent and parallel bases. To be congruent, that means they have the same size and shape. To be parallel, they go in the same direction. And the lateral faces. The lateral faces are the faces formed on the sides. That is the ones between the bases. Now, at the very minimum, they're going to be parallelograms. But if you have a right prism, that is, the angles are actually 90 degrees between them, then you're going to have either rectangles, rhombus, or squares. Typically, what we see are going to be the ones with the rectangles. Now, let's actually turn our attention to finding the volume. Since the base of a prism remains the same as we slice through the prism, we can think of the volume as just basically a large stack of these bases. Here's a picture to help you understand that. If we stack all these rectangles together, we get the prism. Now, because the volume can be thought of as nothing more than a stack of some height of these shapes, we can think of the volume as just the base area times the height. That is the amount of space that the object occupies. Being three-dimensionally, it's going to be in units cubed. And we can think of it like this, where the base area is that bottom shape, and it's some height tall. Now, it's not always going to be the bottom. In this case, the orientation showed it was the bottom, but sometimes it's going to be the sides or even the front and back. Because it's going to be the base area times height, we can say volume is BA, which means base area, times height. Now, remember, the answer has to be in units cubed or centimeters cubed or inches cubed because volume is a three-dimensional measurement. When we do this, we're going to do it with a picture equation. The picture equation helps us to understand what the base shape is. So we'll do the base area as the picture, and then multiplying it by the distance between the two bases. That'll be the height. Now let's turn our attention to a few examples. Here we have a triangular prism. We know it's a triangular prism because we have the two triangles, front and back, which are congruent and parallel. To find the volume, we'll find the area of the triangle and multiply by the distance between the triangles. That'll be the 10 centimeters. To begin, let's start with the picture equation. The volume here is the triangle's area times the height of 10. To find the area of a triangle, we'll use half of base times height. And I need to make sure I know which piece is the height. The 6 is the base because that's where the right angle is. And I need to find the segment that comes away from it also at that right angle, in which case it's the 4 centimeters. To find the area of this triangle, we'll use half of base times height, which will be half of 6 times 4, times the height of the prism, 10, to find the volume. Now we just compute it. Half of 4 is 2, 2 times 6 is 12, 12 times 10 is 120, and 120 centimeters cubed will be the volume. To find the total surface area, we're going to find the sum of the areas of all the faces. That is, the two triangles, plus all the lateral faces that come off of them. Because a triangle has 3 sides, there'll be 3 of these lateral faces. In particular, this triangle is isosceles, meaning that 2 sides are equal. The side on the left is 5 centimeters, and the side on the right is 5 centimeters. That means 2 of the rectangles coming off of it for lateral faces will also have equal areas. So when I set my TSA picture, I can say it's this. It's the 2 triangles, plus the 2 rectangles that have the same area, that is the one on the left and right, plus the rectangle on the bottom. Now, the triangle has sides of 5, 5, and 6, which means the dimensions of the rectangles on the top will be 5, 5, and 6. The height of the prism is 10, which means the height of all these rectangles will be 10. So here's our picture equation. We need to make sure we have all 5 faces, that is the 2 triangles and 3 rectangles, accounted for here. And we do. So now we can turn our attention to the equations. Each triangle is going to be half of base times height, so we have 2 of each triangle, which is half of 4 times 6, plus the 2 rectangles, which are 10 by 5, so 2 of the 5 times 10s, plus the last rectangle, which is 10 by 6, hence the plus the 10 times 6. Now we'll do some computations. The 2 times half cancels, leaves us 1, so we have 1 times 4 times 6, or 24. We have the 2 times 5 times 10, which is the 2 of the 50s, and then the 10 by 6, which is 60. Multiplying together, we have the 24 plus the 100 plus 60, which means the total surface area, if you add it all together, is 184, in this case centimeters squared. when you do the units, be careful. Volume is always cubic, meaning some unit cubed, whereas surface area is always a squared measurement, it's two-dimensional, so here the centimeter squared. Now let's try a little bit harder triangular problem. This is another triangular prism, but it's a little bit more difficult. Here, we can see that the triangle doesn't have all the dimensions listed. This triangle lists one side as 5, another side as 13. But if the 5 is the height, we don't have the base. We need the base where the two sides come together to make the right angle. So we're going to have to do a little Pythagorean theorem. This triangle has a leg of 5 and an unknown leg, but a hypotenuse of 13. So substituting this into Pythagorean theorem, we get that the x squared plus the 5 squared equals the 13 squared. And we can solve this out. Now when you use Pythagorean theorem, it's always a good idea to justify it. So working out, we're going to find that the missing leg is 12. Now that we know the missing leg is 12 units, we can find the volume. The volume of this prism is going to be the area of that triangle times the height, which is the distance between the triangles, or in this case, 9. Setting up a picture equation, we got the volume of the triangle with a base and height of 5 by 12 times the height of the prism, which is 9. Area of the triangle is half of base times height, or here half of 12 times 5. And to find the volume, we multiply the height of the prism, which is 9. Multiplying this out, we go half of 12 is 6, 6 times 5 is 30, and 30 times 9 is 270, and it's a cubic measurement, which is why we use unit cubed. To find the total surface area, we need to figure out how many faces. Again, this is a triangular prism, meaning it has two triangles, and because a triangle has 3 sides, there's 3 rectangles wrapping around this. Here, none of the sides of the triangle match, which means none of the rectangles will have the same area. So when we set it up, the total surface area will be the 2 triangles, plus the 3 separate and different rectangles. Each triangle will be half of base times height, whereas the rectangles are just base times height. Go ahead and try to find the total surface area, pause the video, and then check your answers. When you're ready, resume the video. I'll give you a minute. Hopefully you've had a chance to work this out. Each triangle is going to be half of 5 times 12, but there's 2 of them. So we say it's 2 times half times 5 times 12. Each rectangle is just base times height, so the first one's 9 times 5, the next one's 9 by 12, and the next one's 9 times 13. Simplifying these out, 2 times half is 1, and then it leaves us 1 times 5 times 12, or 60. 5 times 9 is 45, the next one, 12 times 9, is 108, and the 13 times 9 is 117. Adding these together, we get the 60 plus the 270, which is going to be 330 units squared. Again, watch your units. Volume is always cubic. Surface area, which is the type of area, is always squared. Now let's try one more example. Here I have a trapezoidal prism. In this trapezoidal prism, I know that I have the 2 trapezoidal bases. That's the one on top and bottom. A trapezoid has 4 sides, which means this thing will have 4 lateral faces going around it. Because in this trapezoid, none of the sides are equal, it has sides of 7, 10, 6, and 15, none of the rectangles wrapping up this figure will also have equal area. Let's start by finding the volume. The volume here is going to be found by taking the trapezoid and multiply the area of the trapezoid times the height of the prism. It'll look like this. The area of a trapezoid is 1/2 of base 1 plus base 2 times height, or in this case 1/2 of the quantity, 15 times 10 times 5. The height of the actual prism is another 10, so to find the volume, we'll take the area of that trapezoid and multiply by 10. Simplifying this, 15 times 10 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. Half of 125 is 62.5, and times 10 is going to give us 625 centimeters cubed. And there's the volume. To do the TSA, we're going to find the picture equation. Why don't you again go ahead and pause the video. This one's going to be a little bit harder. Work it out, and then resume the video when you're ready. I'll give you a minute. Hopefully you've had a shot here. The TSA is going to be the 2 trapezoids. Because a trapezoid has 4 sides, there's 4 rectangles going around. So to set up our picture equation, it'll look like this. The 2 trapezoids, none of the sides of the trapezoid are the same, so again, all 4 rectangles look different. But the height of all the rectangles have to be the 10, because that's the height of the prism. One side of the trapezoid is the 6, that's the one on the right, so that's our first rectangle. The top of the trapezoid was 10, so that's our second rectangle. The 7 was the left side of the trapezoid, which is the third rectangle. And the bottom of the trapezoid is 15, which is the last rectangle. To find the area of each trapezoid, it's 1/2 of the quantity base 1 plus base 2 times height. So we'll set that up. And then each rectangle is just base times height, which is why we see the 6 times 10, the 10 times 10, the 7 times 10, and the 15 times 10. Now we'll do the computations. The 2 times half, well, we got to figure out half of what? 15 times 10 times 5 is 125. 2 times half of that is just 125. The 2 times half cancels. So that's going to leave us the 125 plus the 60 plus the 100 plus the 70 plus the 150, which when we add it all up gives us 505 centimeters squared. Alright, hopefully these videos have helped you to figure out how to do the TSA and volume of our prisms. Thank you for watching.